Guys, what's a good sign that a woman is just using you? She's always making posts telling her friends where you took her for dinner, birthday, holidays, vacation and what gifts you've given her, but never once does she say anything about any unique qualities she finds attractive in you. Does she ever ask you how you're doing more than superficially, or seem interested in what's going on with your life? More like, when she asks how you're doing, does she respond to or even remember any specific things you tell her about? There's a big difference between asking how someone is doing because you actually care, or because you just want something. I had a friend who I talked to daily for over a year who very rarely checked up on me, even when I clearly stated I wasn't doing alright. The only time she did check up on me was when she was having a rough time herself and wanted support. Eventually I just slowly withdrew from her, and even uninstalled Snapchat, our main source of communication unfortunately, without telling her. Now on the other side, I have one friend who I talk to very rarely, but she will frequently, maybe every month or so, shoot me a text out of the blue just asking how I'm doing with life and all. She seems genuinely interested and tends to call back to the last times she checked on me to see if I've improved worse, and since then, it's not much, but she definitely makes me feel like I'm worth something, and it's definitely the best trait a human can display. I had a girl tell me she only talks to a guy because he buys her food when she asks. This guy was my friend and was very interested in her one-sidedness when she expects you to do things that she wouldn't do herself. Have had people tell me I can't be there for you in any way, shape, or form, but I don't want you to leave, and for the double whammy, I can't handle you leaving right now. You're making me angry that you brought up your issues. You can't come to me for things like that. You knew I was upset, all while crying sobbing to make you feel bad. Edit, I forgot an important sentence. You're being so selfish. If that's not being used, I don't know what is. I understand that people go through difficult times, and that sometimes it is difficult to help other people through issues when you have your own. But if you truly care about that person, you make time. That's what a friendship or relationship is. A friendship relationship is a give and take. If all you're doing is giving and all they're doing is taking, you're being used, regardless of the excuse. Reminds me of a saying I heard a few months ago on the internet. Givers, be mindful of your limits, because the takers don't have any. Edit, and for those of you who will argue, oh you just don't understand. Yes, I do. I have been at the bottom of the deepest well, on half a dozen different meds to keep me sane, when a friend of mine came to me needing help, and you know what? My issues didn't even come into play. They were there for me when I needed it, so I'm there for them when they need it. That's how it works. We are both doing better now thanks to each other. If you can't heal with your friend, then they are not your friend. That's awful. The only time that point is valid is in case of a medical, physical or mental emergency. But if that other person is all about take, it's only a matter of time before you reach a breaking point. Yes, and in that case, absolutely, I understand someone in severe distress is not going to be able to be a good friend. What constitutes to severe distress, however, is up for debate, and nearly all users will claim they are in constant severe distress to goad more support out of the people they use. You knew I was having a bad day today, you knew so, and so thing was happening. And of course you did, because they came to you for support as soon as it happened. At least 75% of the time the reason they're upset is because of something they did. The user will trap the used in by never giving them a chance to talk to them while they're doing good. If the person being used never feels like the person is doing well enough to handle I'm leaving, they're trapped. It's classic. When that distress is partially self-inflicted and has no end in sight, then sometimes you just have to say I'm sorry, good luck, I can't do this, and walk away. Very much like the way many addicts treat their friends' family. They are in a state of constant despair which can go on for months, years. At what point do you cut them off? Are you being a bad friend by not continuing to support them through their hard time? No, you're doing the right thing, especially if you've already confronted them at least once about it. Of course they'll flip it around and use that emotional distress to coerce more support out of their newest victims. rinse and repeat every 4-6 months. I was dating a girl who said she was too busy to go on a date on Saturday and that she was only free on Tuesdays. She also said that she wanted to date other guys while dating me. She later admitted that she was cycling boyfriends through the week for free food. I dropped her like a bag of moldy tangerines. She doesn't act that interested when you are interested, flirting, contacting her. But when you stop, suddenly she is very interested and contacts you a lot until you act interested again. The cycle then repeats. Anytime you try opening up, you're acting off character, selfish, an ass, etc. It's usually the typical pathetic manipulation people pull to make you feel bad for either standing up for yourself or just trying to be you. I guess this behavior depends on how far into the relationship you are with those types of people. For instance, in several of my own interactions with people that eventually ended up using me, they were very keen on making me feel comfortable opening up and being vulnerable to establish that kind of connection and desire for more of it. Then, much later on when I was sufficiently hooked, did they start with the negative reactions and manipulation. She never calls you by your name, and you find out you're labeled free food in her phone. Your issues aren't worth talking about, but she will unload all of hers on you. Furthermore, when you bring up your issues generally with the one-sidedness and how it's really unpleasant, you get the classic response of how could you even bring that up knowing it was going to upset me, or I'm mad at you for bringing that up knowing full well what I'm going through. Pretty much the same as when any person is just using you. The relationship feels unbalanced and unequal, with you giving more than you are receiving. In a good relationship, friendship, whatever, both people are giving what they want to give without coercion and both feel adequately rewarded for it. Sometimes one person needs more, sometimes the other, but it evens out over time. When you feel like you're being coerced into giving more than you really want, whether that's with force or emotional manipulation, or whatever, you're being used and you'll eventually resent it. If you feel like you're being used and you can't have the conversation about it with her. Oh, I can answer this one. When asking you for something, time, money, physical effort, if you say yes, she will almost always and immediately look for something else to ask you for that is related. For example, can you stop and pick up those hair things for me? I say yes, okay. Can you also stop by the shop next door and get me that thing I like? This kind of things isn't a big deal on occasion, but when it's a repeating pattern, it's a red flag. She will point out how much she ducks you and how it's for you, will treat any most of your interests with disdain or indifference, doesn't ever really care what you have to say. When you attempt to point out any inequality in the relationship, she will get extremely defensive and attack you for being selfish and tell you need to be more supportive, giving a real man. The last one I think is a red flag that is extremely obvious, yet many people don't realize it. The moment anyone says anything along the lines of a real man would, or be a man or anything similar, you can be damn sure this person is emasculating you in order to manipulate you. Period. As soon as you hear anything like that, run. Corollary to this is someone who poses a question or puts you in a situation where neither answer or option is good and criticizes you for your decision, saying, are you a man, or are you going to blame me because I didn't make you do anything? No, I certainly didn't have someone ever do this to me, and I am certainly not bitter. Why do you ask? She's in desperate need of a lung transplant and is always complimenting you about what nice lungs you have and making offhanded comments about how you don't use your lungs much and could probably do okay without them. Girl is using my buddy and he doesn't see it. She only reaches out to him when she's single. Nothing ever comes of it as she will find excuse after excuse to not actually meet up. Then when she gets a new boyfriend she ghosts him unless something goes wrong and she needs a shoulder to cry on. Guys, if she only reaches out to you when she's hurt or vulnerable, she doesn't want you, she wants sympathy and knows you'll give it to her. Edit. And to be clear, this isn't an exclusively girl thing to do. Guys can be guilty of this too. Edit too. And if you were in this situation and hung on only because you thought you'd get sex relationship out of it, that's nice guy incel behavior. If you hang around for a reason that isn't I genuinely care about this person in a non-romantic context and would keep doing this if there was no sexual romantic desire, then that isn't you being the good guy. You don't want them. You want the idea of them that you've built in your head. It's possible you're both wrong. Who off? Wasted a year heartbroken over a girl that kept doing this to me. She rejected me at first with an I'm not ready just yet, and I kept thinking just yet was around the corner. It felt like we got along so well, and once every few months we'd reconnect and become extremely close for a few weeks, and each time I thought things would finally work out. But then she'd start ghosting and finding every excuse to cancel on me last minute. It eventually clicked that I only heard from her when she was between different men. At some point, she bailed on me for the last time at the last minute, and it clicked that I had unrealistic nice guy expectations and that she was using me to feel better about herself. Never heard from her again. When she flirts with you all the time, and also everyone else, and asks you to come over to do complex electrical work, and says she'll take you out to dinner, and you agree because you like the work and like being around her, but she brings her kids along and ignores you the entire time. Then when you're not around her, she never texts or calls and just waves at you when you pass her at work every day, making no effort to talk to you whatsoever. And when you try to talk to her, she gives you short answers like yeah, duck you Liz. I'm not a man, but I've known too many not so great women and have had guy friends used by women. So I think I can chime in here a little. She never wants to listen to your complaints, but that's all she does herself. She asks about your bank account and your job often, and says she's just wondering. She gets unreasonably mad when you forget a holiday. She makes deals with you using her body. If you buy me this, I'll suck your dick in the car. She lies constantly about her own financial situation or personal relationships. She always wants to hang out with a specific friend of yours. She doesn't thank you for things, but rather expects them. She manipulates you by threatening to withhold sex until she gets her way. She only says I love you when you give her something or do something for her. She never pays for anything herself. She guilt trips the life out of you. She is unreasonably, explosively defensive when you voice your concerns regarding the relationship. OP. If your girls is doing any of these, find a new girl. If you and your partner do this for mutual, well-intended fun, then there's of course no problem. It's when one person uses it specifically to get what they want as a manipulation tool that I find it to be a serious issue. You should never have to earn sex unless that's a D's thing that you've both discussed and consented to beforehand. When you realize you are there for her more than they are for you, I just want to say that with this one, it's also possible that you are the personality type to give yourself to others a lot. It may not be a problem with the other person if you are there for them more than the opposite. I'm having to learn to care more for myself, and that I shouldn't expect other people to do for me the things I would do for them. It's not healthy. I don't know if it counts, but when she takes a lot of time to text back most of the time, but as soon as you invite her to a really good place where she won't have to pay for anything, she is suddenly faster than flash to respond and now answers quick as long as the topics are about going to said place. If she has other men in her life in whatever capacity, but you're not allowed to even speak to another woman, even an established platonic friend, without her flipping her shit, you are nothing to her but a source of drama and validation. Run, do not walk away. When she goes to you for sympathy and attention because she doesn't get it from her boyfriend and tells you about sex she has with him, but when you ask her to stop, she ghosts you and makes you feel like shit. Duck you Shayna. Duck you for giving me a lot of trouble with trusting women for a long time. A girl once called me her happy pill, a nickname her therapist created, cause I genuinely made her life so much better, but she cheated on me anyway. My friend told me that you only take a pill when you need it, and I've lived by that and use that as a filter for all my relationships. Dated 2 women whose therapists said I was a good person to have in their lives and that I was a positive stabilizing presence. One cheated on me, other one ditched me. Good times. Good times. If this thought ever pops in your head, that's already a sign. I don't think a healthy friendship should ever have this start popping up in the very first place. Rose tinted glasses are a very real thing and will make you stay in a bad relationship, even though the flags are very obvious. I only hope those who are reading this thread can be brave enough to leave for your own good. Some clearer signs. Lack of two-way communication. Only her issues matter, yours doesn't. Similarly, if you're the only one starting conversations but she doesn't, but still keeps you around, start running. She only looks for you when she's in trouble, needs a shoulder, having a bad time. A healthy relationship should share the good times as much as the bad times. Your worth to her is measured by the material things you can bring to the relationship. If you feel like once you stop investing money, time, and you would lose her, stop whatever you are doing immediately and find a better person. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.